Hi there, David Donahue from the Eyes of Horus. And today I'd like to talk to you about myth busting, some of the myths that exist around anxiety. Because there are a lot of them that do actually exist. And you see, my mission that I have nowadays is to be able to help people to overcome their anxiety. Not just cope, but to overcome it. And that's what I now do. And so in using hypnosis, NLP and other modalities and being able to go back, I know that anxiety can be resolved and resolved in ways so that it's not there. And so part of this today is about looking at what are those myths. And so I just want to go through what I see as the top 6 myths that I'm been dealing with and answering with people's questions for a number of years. The first one is the myth that people believe they have no choice and that therefore they are just anxious. And the idea is we always have choice. There was a person who wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning, called Viktor Frankl, and he wrote of his experience in concentration camps. And one of the things that he comes up with is he says, you know what, we always have choice. Even if you think you don't, in your mind, inside, you can always decide, yes, I'm going to do it, or no, I'm not. And so with anxiety, we always have a choice. We always have a choice on whether we deal with it or not, whether we just cope with it or not, whether we find ways to overcome it or not, or whether we decide to just give up. It is a choice. The next myth is around people who often say that anxiety is who I am. I've had it all my life. I'm always anxious. And the idea is, well, again, that isn't actually true. You see, you are many things. And in many ways, we can say that everyone is made up of energy. Quantum physics tells us that. And that everyone has love. And some of you watching this might say, yeah, but what about? Forget about the what about. What I want you to notice is that anxiety is not who you are. Anxiety is something that you experience. In other words, it is something that you do. And as you do it, you experience it. And so as a result of that, the idea is it's not your identity. It is a behavior, a capability, and a belief. And so we can change beliefs, we can change capabilities, we can change behaviors. So it's not about changing you, it's about helping you to learn new ways to release and overcome the anxiety. And that links in with the next one of the myths, which is I'm always anxious. In actual fact, you can't be. There's a book called Overcoming Anxiety by Jill Hassan. And in there, she has several pages, like I think 5 pages, which goes through all the symptoms of anxiety. And I know when I had it, I had a whole variety of symptoms. I didn't have them all. And I also know that I didn't have them when I was asleep. And I didn't have them in the shower. You'll find that as you go through the day, you forget about it. And it's when you remember about it that you might have the anxiety. And you might think, I have it all the time. In actual fact, you don't. Another one of the myths is that you might have been told by someone who you believed that, you know what, all you can ever do is learn to cope with anxiety. And you trust them because you believe that they're the expert. Everybody has their limited beliefs, even myself. And yet I work with them all the time, and I work with a lot of them in helping people to overcome anxiety, just like I did. Because I know that it was a lot of my limiting beliefs that stopped me from being able to do what I wanted to do. And so do not believe what the therapist coach tells you. Recognize that they might have limitations and decide for yourself, or as with the first myth, choose for yourself what it is that you want, and you can get it. Another myth might be you're thinking, oh, all therapists are the same. Or I can only see a psychologist because they're the ones who are really trained. And if you start to think about trying to identify things about therapists, coaches, who's good, who's not good, what you want to do is work out for yourself that they're not the same. And I know I cannot work with everybody. There are some people that I work with and it works well. There are other people that maybe not as well. And so I'm not there for everybody. And part of the idea behind helping you to overcome anxiety is to recognize that you want to go and find the therapist or coach who believes it. And if they don't, go find someone else. And the last myth I want to break is that I really want to let go of my anxiety and I can't. And I thought that when I had my anxiety, when I was up at the Great Pyramid, looking up at the entrance thinking, I just can't go in there. And I couldn't go in there because of the anxiety I was experiencing. But in actual fact, I thought I really want to let it go. What I realized later was a lot of my fears of the anxiety sort of made it, like I said, one of the other myths. I identified that this is who I am. Who am I without the anxiety? And so I had to work through a number of areas so that then I was able to finally let go. And I did. And so you can do that too. So something I want you to think about is the idea of letting go. You see, an elephant, when it's young, what happens? It's tied with a chain to a stick. It tries and pulls and pulls and pulls, can't get off the chain. As it grows bigger and it could actually break the chain, what happens? They don't change it. So the elephant believes it's stuck, it's given up, and it just stays there. And I suppose that's a lot of what we do. We try things and we finally give up. And you know what? If I'd have given up, then I'd still be getting stuck in lifts. I'd still be embarrassed getting out. I still wouldn't be able to catch spiders and take them outside. And you know what? Really, it's not a particularly good way of living. So the idea is that having changed and learned how to overcome anxiety helped me to recognize I can have such a much better life. So just for a moment, I want to put myths aside and just go through a couple of the basics, as I mentioned in my previous video. The A, B, C of starting the journey of letting go and overcoming anxiety. The A is ask. So remember, start asking yourself, what's this anxiety about? B, be willing to stop so that you can talk to yourself. And C is have a chat. Don't blame, don't get stuck into it. Just have a chat about what is it trying to tell you. And I want to talk about the urgency. You see, I saw the pyramids and I had a dream. I wanted to go in and I didn't. And I realized then and there I needed to change. I needed to find the solution. And I wonder, are you at that point yet? Because if you're not, you will get there. And you have a choice. You have a choice of now doing something about your anxiety and starting to live the life you want to live. Or you can choose not to. To be able to get to that point where you are so fed up and so frustrated, like I was. Now, I don't want anybody to get to that point. And so you don't have to. Instead, you can actually start to do it. And actually take the action. And I do have a course that I use to be able to help people, because what I do is I want to help people to overcome their anxiety, and I start with things like the ABCs I've just mentioned to you. Because what happens is, as people start to overcome their anxiety, you know what? They tell others and they refer others, because then they know, wow, what I was putting up with, I don't have to put up with anymore. And it's a great way of actually moving and starting to get everybody, because my mission is to help everybody in Australia who's being impacted by anxiety to overcome it. And so it's great when I see those things happen. And so I suppose I'd like you to think about the idea at the moment is to ask yourself those myths and say, do I believe those myths? And if you do, start to challenge yourself. And as you challenge yourself, then I'd like you to actually leave a note just below this video and just let me know. What did you discover about yourself? And say, this is David Donoghue from the Eyes of Horus, helping you to overcome your anxiety and hoping you have a good and comfortable day.